this particular last 3 weeks. I just put all the Astra Shastra inside. About various aspects that which impacts us as a civilization, a culture, a religion, a civilizational U-turn. Because when Puja Gurudev started this particular format to bring the ancient wisdom of our scriptures practically to every doorstep. Earlier, the thirsty had to go to the fountain, take the horse to the pond. And Gurudev, when he was active in the Indian freedom struggle, he travelled quite a lot. In fact, he had to hide, and he chose to hide in what is today Pakistan, Abbottabad. And he saw that there is a need, there is a necessity for the revival, the Hindu Renaissance. So when somebody asked him, "Are you trying to convert the whole world into Hindus?" He said, "No, I have a very humble expectation of this effort, is to convert Hindus to Hinduism. Utna kar le to kafi hai. That much is sufficient." Why is it that that was a necessity? Why is it that it is a necessity to reconnect Hindus to their own Hindu roots? And the reason I have chosen not to speak on Bhagavad Gita, not to speak on Upanishads or any other Vedantic text right now, one, in 8 weeks I cannot fathom to complete a particular portion of it. Second, recently during the pandemic, there was I've mentioned this several times, but since today the group seems to have swelled up in size. So if I start with my series, you will feel disconnected. How many of you have joined me for the first time here just today? Several of you. So just so that you also feel connected. So there was something called Dismantling Global Hindutva. It was organized by the Rutgers, and it was supported by more than 45 public universities, not private, public universities. And I kept asking you last 3 weeks as well, how many of you were not aware of it when it was happening? That there was this kind of a university effort to dismantle globally Hindutva. How many of you were not aware? Many of us were not aware, right? It was happening right under our nose, right here in US. and it is happening not as a private group, but it is these academicians, professors, assistant professors of public university meaning your tax money, I don't pay tax. So your tax money being used to uproot your identity. If this were to happen to any other belief system, religion, they would have been up in their arms protesting and making sure that their voice is heard. But when it comes to us, just to understand how disconnected we live, is we are not even aware of it. Is somebody planning to remove the very foundation of your house that you dwell in? So last week there was somebody that came in and said, Swamiji, we should forget about all this past and move on. Would it be possible? To exist without a past, to exist without a connection to the past. See, even in the field of sciences, this is humanities. So in the field of sciences, when the research is done, there are, the way I look at it, the way I would look at the classification is, one is called evolutionary research, and the second one I would call it as revolutionary research. An evolutionary research is that which is based on, there is a group, there is a body which has been working on that particular topic of science. So there is this new blood, new thinking that comes in, takes the existing mass of knowledge, data, wisdom, and works on that to find and give a newer dimension, a deeper dimension, a more comprehensive dimension. So whatever was evolved with a newer dimension, evolutionary research. People accept it. When it is an evolutionary research, people accept it. Why? Because there is a vast amount of past based on which you have researched, and moving forward there is a connection to it. Fair enough? But if there is a disconnect to the entire mass of the collected knowledge and wisdom, and there is a revolutionary thing, people will react to it, object to it. They may not be able to even understand, fathom, connect with it. Even in the field of science, the connection to the past and working on that evolutionarily is where it makes sense. So past cannot be avoided. In fact, I would go ahead and say that if we are disconnected from the past collected wisdom, there is hardly an innovation that can be possible. You don't want to reinvent that wheel, so you want to know all that which has been done before, so that you don't fall trap to those things again. So those who don't learn from their own past, they tend to keep repeating the same mistakes again and again. How many parents here don't repeat this particular statement to your children almost on a daily basis? Right? You want to improve You want your children to improve upon the wisdom that has been already imparted to them and grow from there. And when that doesn't happen, does it frustrate you as a parent? As simple as whoever be the kid in the house. When you as a mother find a wet towel on the bed, does it frustrate you? What is one often repeated dialogue that goes with your frustration? Told you 1,000,000 times, not just 100 times, 1,000,000 times. बुद्धि नहीं है, right? When will you grow up? Meaning when you disconnect from that wisdom, that means you have stopped growing. In your own words. Am I connecting it? Are we all on the same page? Why is it necessary to be on the same page? Otherwise, there is disconnect. Isn't it? After the lecture, you will come and say, Swami ji, आपने जो कुछ बोला था बहुत अच्छा था, पर कुछ समझ में नहीं आया. Which might be the result of it at the end of it, but still, there should be a connection. We cannot live, exist. So this effort, trying to globally dismantle Hinduism, Hindutva, and the strange thing that they wanted to tell us, when I was one of those who was very vociferously objecting against it, is because a group of Yuva Kendra, Chinmay Yuva Kendra members in Rutgers brought it to my attention that not this year, but the last year when they wanted to celebrate Ramanavami, a particular professor, Audrey Trushke, had very, you would call that psychologically as gaslighting. If you are very new to that word, please go check, Google. Pujya all-knowing Googlananda will reveal you what gaslighting means. And हिंदी में बोलूं तो अनाब शनाब बक रही थी वो प्रोफेसर on Rama, Bhagwan Ram, Shri Ramchandra ji, Sita Maiya, to a point where her allegation was this is an uncouth habit of celebrating that Rama whose wife did not have a character. She was not happy with him, so she went with Lakshmana, and she was not happy there also, she went with Ravana. This is there available on her tweets. So we tried protesting, and it led to this global dismantling, and 45 universities agree with it. Now what is the impact of it? It will trickle down into the school systems, into the syllabuses, that which is taught even in school, not just in college. So I brought it to your attention last 3 weeks that there is something called World Religion Study in 6th grade. And at that point, many of you said you had not checked up on it as to what is taught in there. At least after 3 weeks of talking about it, how many of you have put an effort to go back and check and read about it? 3 hands. बाकी लोग भी थोड़ा प्रयास कीजिए ना. See, the very reason you are here is so that our next generation understands, assimilates, and practices that which we believe in as our Sanatana Dharma. And that if it is taught to them in a disconnected, that which will disorient the child, because it is coming from a sacred position of teacher-taught relationship. How many times has it happened that what you say to the child doesn't have the same impact, but when the same thing is said by the teacher, has a deeper impact? I'll tell you one personal experience. Long time ago, when I travel, I stay in the host family, and this host family, I have known them. She is a professor in mathematics, and she has 2 kids. At that time, they were very young. The older one was in first grade or second grade. The younger one was still a toddler. So this kid comes back from the school, has a book in front of him, and he is going upside down with whatever was the homework. So the mother asks, "So what are you working on? Why don't you come have some snack?" I said, "After I finish this." So she was insisting that he comes. I said, "Amma, these are the moments that you have to cherish, because later will be a time where even when you ask them to sit with a book, you will not find them. Cherish it right now." So she said, "What are you working on?" I said, "Some math problem. You will not understand." She is a math professor. For that fellow, you are not that great qualified. So she sat down and was like, "What is the problem?" After throwing the hands in the air and everything, and he says, 3 mangoes plus 2 mangoes. So she went with that method, right? 3 mangoes, 1, 2, 3. Add 2 more mangoes. Now how many? Count. And he goes, "Yo, that can be applied only if it is chocolates." Because in the school, my teacher taught that 3 chocolates plus 2 chocolates is 5 chocolates, but these are mangoes. So that which comes from that sacred altar of teacher-taught relationship has a deeper meaning. Even though you are qualified, you are disqualified from the very fact that you are a parent, and you are somebody that is professionally qualified to be nagging. And from that altar, when it comes that your religion is primitive, uncharacteristic, not modern, paganistic, it has a devastating impact on the kid. Because for them, the cool factor is that which is the most common factor to which they can associate with, and that which they have been associating from the house, from Chinmaya Mission, from the temple, from everything that which we do at home, is being told that it is not cool, not right. Many of you keep asking me, "Swamiji, how do I tell my kid?" He is saying that he doesn't want to come to Chinmaya Mission, he doesn't want to come to this, he doesn't want to go for puja, he doesn't want to come for temple, he doesn't want to do anything to do with. Now, first of all, the kid has grown up in an environment that you have chosen to be here. Unfortunately, the environment that you have chosen has good opportunities but your identity is a minority. It doesn't reflect the same, that which you respect, that which you identify, that which you want them to practice, is not a common thing that is practiced outside. That itself is a problem. On the top of it, it has been told from that sacred platform of teacher-taught relationship that that which you believe in and that which you are trying to practice is uncharacteristic. So what happens to the child psychologically? He may not be able to articulate it. He starts resisting to the very fact that why am I brown? And this is not the first attempt that it has happened on us. As the teacher for Shlokathon coordinator was saying, why Shlokathon coordination? I said, there's one more point, that we are still alive as a civilization, as a religion, as a culture, as a tradition, as with profound rituals and every wisdom that it can give, is because though our temples, educational institutions were burnt down to ashes systematically. Yes, we may know Nalanda, Takshashila, but there were total at least about 38 different universities that were burned down. How big were these universities? I don't know what is the standard to call somebody a dean in today's education system, but a similar system was in place way back in those universities, in those gurukulas. And these 38 universities that I am talking about had Mahopadhyaya, something equivalent to a vice chancellor, dean of a university. When is that Mahopadhyaya title given? When you have not just one stream of knowledge or wisdom, but you have all the sciences, all the arts, all the welfare that you can teach to the next generation under one roof, and to teach each stream, you have at least 100 acharyas. Supposing there are about 25 science streams and about 15 arts, humanities. So you are talking about 40. Under each one of that, you have an acharya who can teach, and you have 100 such acharyas for each stream. Under each such acharya, there are minimum 100 students. And this Mahopadhyaya has to have the ability to provide for, because the Gurukula system had education, lodging and boarding. This Mahopadhyaya's responsibility is to provide for that vast network of students, for their food, for their lodging, for their education, for everything to be provided. So it was not some under the tree Gurukula. It's a vast organized network. Those were burned down. 38 of them that I can count. At least so far in my research. Can you imagine the impact of it? How many hundreds and thousands of students were killed when it got destroyed? Teachers, the teaching systems. And still we are thriving as a civilization. And the reason why we thrive is because our module of communication and learning has always been a vocal tradition, Shruti. That which you hear, that which you memorize, that which you learn, that which you transfer from one generation to the other. Naggingly so, fine. They tried destroying by burning it, looting it, destroying it. We were still thriving. Then they tried engineering it socially. It's called social engineering. One such topic that I would go into is called AIT. Before I go into that, you raised your hand. Please ask. Did you all hear his question? Okay, those of you who couldn't hear it, let me repeat it. That it doesn't seem to be a one professor, one university supported by 45 universities. There seem to be a concentrated effort of several organizations or systems in place for making this, enabling this to happen. Maybe there is a political system, economic system, and various other things. That professor, after this DGH effort, was awarded 28 million to research on South Asian connection with regards to linguistics by the Biden government after the DGH happened. So yes. So he had 3 questions based on that. One, is there a petition? Is there a court case? Can there be a bill that which the representatives can present? 3 things, right? I covered all 3. Coordination with the other Hindu organizations. For last 1.5 years, that is what I have been busy with as well. There are all the organizations. Within about a week and a half, we had 67 different Hindu organizations that came together against the DGH, against the atrocities that were being pelted in the university. There is a court case, there are 2 actually. Now when it comes to the senators and bill, just because there is somebody who has a Hindu name who is in the political arena, they may not end up supporting the Hindu cause. In fact, you would see them support a Pakistani caucus, Ro Khanna for example. I'm speaking on the politics which I should refrain from, but since your specific question is on that account, I'll give you the details on that as well. So what happens is you are left out in the open where we as Hindu have not focused on consolidating our political presence. We don't vote. How many of you are citizens? How many of you did not vote? Please start voting. When I say voting, it is not just for a presidential election. It starts from the school boards, it starts from the sheriff that you choose, it starts from the judge that you choose. It impacts your life. We are not active. See, there was a time when we as Hindus, we as Bharatiyas wanted to have a firm footing in having a stable means of economy, stable means of finance, that which we did not have. Now, having lived here, would you consider that we Indian Hindu are in a very good rock bed, nicely settled? Yes or no? No? ये दो हाथ से कमा रहे हो यार. Both parents working is almost a norm, right? Yes or no? So that puts you in a bracket of, if not 30%, at least 25% taxes, which means you are making at least 200K. That's not a below subpar average. We are talking about a pretty good rock solid baseline. At least now, we have to think about, and this solution is not an immediate solution. It's a solution that which we have to think about for next generation to come. Can we get out of, as a community, as a thinking pattern that it is only okay if you are in being a doctor or an engineer or a hardware, software, but if you are a teacher, if you are a politician, how many of us would encourage our child to go in that route? Because that is where the change can actually happen. Because the present ones are spineless. Because the system is a feedback loop and they cannot go against that feedback loop for their own existence. And we have not done, say, how many political bodies are there lobbying for a Hindu cause? When the other minority groups stand up and raise funds, they are raising about $15–20 million every year. At least I've been tracking it for the last 15 years. A Hindu cause at a global, not at a national level in US, we barely make it around to 700–800. Do you see the difference? Now with 700K, it is not even like meow meow. With about 20 million, they are roaring. The wrong things they are roaring, but they have the backing. Wherever there is money, wherever there is that power, wherever there is that soft power, that is where the politician would stand up and speak for you, pass a bill. In India, it is called bribing, this is called lobbying. Same difference. Oh, this country doesn't have any kind of, what do you call, corruption. It is legalized. And they call it lobbying, and we don't support. There are some who are now to a point like, oh, I support both the Democratic and the Republic. Our standpoint should be, does it support, does that fellow, that system support a Hindu cause? Then I will support. Yes, then we are talking. We don't think in those lines. So that whole reframing of our own thinking has to happen. That is a different topic altogether. That would make a different discussion altogether. If your question was on those lines, I would say we'll stop it there. Right? Fair enough? Now going back to the AIT. AIT means Aryan Invasion Theory. How many of you have heard of it? Everyone should have heard of it. You've not heard of it? Ayyo. Ayyo. Aryan Invasion Theory was launched to dismantle global Hindutva and its effect and its impact way back in 1800s, 1700s actually. So when you go into Pujya, all-knowing Googleananda, Mata Wikipedia, you all search on Google and it takes you to Wikipedia and you see the bullet points from that and it said, Wikipedia bola hai to right? In Hindi there is a word they say, Patthar pe lakir. Patthar pe lakir is a permanent line drawn of confirmation as strong as a line etched on a stone. Wikipedia bol raha hai. Swamiji, whatever you are saying, Wikipedia doesn't confirm. My life doesn't get confirmed by Wikipedia, I decided. When you research into that, you will find that Hindus were not originally from India. The Vedic literature, Sanskritam, the Sanskriti, the practices, the traditions, the custom, the culture did not belong to the Bharatiya Peninsula, geographically speaking. So those who were native were called, anybody? Haha, that is where we fall trap. The natives are not called Dravidians. They are also settlers, it seems. The natives who are called Mool Nivasis or Adivasi. The first ones, those who have natively been Adi from the beginning. Now you see the construct of the word, how debilitating that word is. For most of us in a very common literature in interaction, what does Adivasi stand for? Tribal. That is where we are entrapped. It connects back to this Aryan invasion theory, that our system of thinking, our knowledge base is not from India. And in 1700s they found Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, the Indus Valley civilization. And that Indus Valley civilization, when you go to research, they will say they were the Aryans. There were another group of settlers called Dravidians who were dark skinned, and they were pushed down south. South of what? Indian Peninsula. So there are white skinned, lighter skinned. North Indians who came in with the horses, who came in with the agriculture, who came in with poetry, who came in with Sanskritam, who came in with the Vedic literature. So where did those Aryans come from? They had to fix a locus, a focal point, a loci and a foci. Because they're creating a hypothesis and they're throwing a narrative which has no basis. So they have to create one. So between the Aryan, or what is told, what is communicated as in the European accent, it is Aryan. So the Aryan are somewhere in the European, and between that Europe and India, they found in the Central Asia, closer to Middle East, Central Asia, is where you will find that these hypotheses have zeroed in. Up until the 1800s, the belief was Sanskrit was the mother of all languages. But after this particular Aryan invasion theory came in, they said, no, Sanskritam cannot. There was a root language. It is called Proto-Indo-European language system, which has been academically created. When you go to the Central Asian, you will not find Vedic rituals, you will not find Sanskritam, you will not find any of this culture. Where did you all come from? Whether first generation or second generation? Huh? So if I go back to India, I will find some similarity of these traces there? Yes or no? But this Proto-Indo-European language system, from where these Aryans came in, you will not find a single trace of it. Can you imagine what a fertile narrative was created? They came in, so what do you find? You ask any Indian, how would you describe being a Bharatiya? You will talk about Bollywood, a sham called Bollywood, maybe Taj Mahal, Mughlai dishes, biryani वगैरह वगैरह, Kashmiri dum aloo, Hyderabadi biryani. This is the identity. What happened to the past? That which they envisioned in 1700s is, when you see today, the effect of it, that which they were envisioning, is seen visible, completely disconnected. Though we all claim that I am a practicing Hindu, convenient Hindu practitioner. Do you want me to go into that route as to why I called it convenient Hindu? जाऊं कि नहीं? जाऊं? अच्छा ठीक है, आप लोगों ने मांगा है, मैंने नहीं मांगा है, आप लोगों ने मांगा है, तो झेलो अभी। हाँ जी, और बहुत तहलका हो सकता है 5 मिनट में। आप मुझे नहीं जानते फिर। How many of you have gotten यज्ञोपवीत संस्कार? इसके बाद हाथ मत उठाना, बहुत बुरा लगेगा. How many of you don't need to raise your hands to answer? How many of you do your entire vidhi of Sandhya Vandana? You have to be doing 3 times. Pratara Sandhya, Madhyana and Sayam Sandhya. Of not a convenience of trying to chant that Vedic mantra of Gayatri mantra I do 11 times, Swamiji. It is 108 times at every single sitting. कितने लोग करते हैं? Answer मत देना मुझे, because I know the answer. It is just a objection raised. How many of you even wear the Yajnopavita? We have to search for where that bloody Yajnopavita is when we have to do Shraddha Karma. Convenient Hindu. I have to remind the set of parents that when you are coming here to learn culture, tradition, religion, please come in Indian clothes. Shorts पे आ जाते हैं, tank top पे आ जाते हैं. You wearing a short and a tank top is not an objectionable thing for me. Wear whatever, but according to the place where it should be appropriate. ये कोई पार्क नहीं है. Am I getting across? Convenient Hindu. When do we celebrate our festivals? Galat, not weekends. Nearest possible weekend. उस महीने में कभी ना कभी. And we say, I am a practicing Hindu. In fact, Hinduism does not force upon us to any such particular. You can do whatever you feel like. अच्छा, ये definition कहाँ से आ गया? That is justifying our own. Now, this insincerity of practicing convenient Hinduism is seen by the next generation. That also becomes one of the reasons for the next generation to say, you don't believe in it, why should I practice it? मैं चैलेंज करता हूं यार, कितने लोग धोती पहन के आएंगे? मैं झेलने के लिए तैयार हूं. बेल्ट पहन लो उसके ऊपर. To a point wherein I have been told, oh, dhoti and all is South Indian. कौन बेवकूफ है ऐसा बोलता है? What do you see there? What do you see there? Bhagwan Sri Ramchandra ji. Who is in front of him? Bharath ji. Who are all the others around him? The Rishi Muni, Guru Gana. Right? Where was he born? Where is Ayodhya? North India mat bolna. Northern part of India. Did I explain as to why it is not North India, but it has to be northern part of India? South Korea, North Korea, two different countries. When you say South India, North India, the understanding is they're like two different. No, it is one. So he was from the northern part of India. And what is he wearing? Ayodhya is not from south. FYI. That was our traditional attire. But we have come to a point where we are disconnected, we make statements, we hear statements, we accept statements that dhoti and sadi is from from the South India. We are North Indians. We don't wear such. Even today when you go to Haridwar, Rishikesh, Kashi, Banaras, when the traditional puja has to be done, what do they end up wearing? Go to Kedarnath, go to beyond into Nepal, Pashupatinath. What are they wearing? Dhoti. पहन के आओ पहले. ट्रेडिशन सिखाना है ना अगले जनरेशन को. I don't know, Swamiji, what to do. My kid doesn't like Indian food. Because what you have respected or shown that good food, cool food, enjoyable food when I have to have a downtime is not Indian food. For not 1 day, not 2 days, not 3 days. Chalo, aaj enjoy karte hain. Let's go have a nice time. Let's go have pizza. Who has given that input? This generation of us. And then you suddenly want them to love dal chawal. Nahi hoga. Where did this disconnect happen? That whole concept is called the Aryan invasion theory. We are the effect of it. So it is not, though the theory itself is a hypothesis, the impact of it is not unreal. We, our generation, is the reality of it. Why are we like this? Even if we go to a courtroom or anywhere else to challenge, do you know why we fall flat? One among us will be picked by them to be shown as a proof, shown as an evidence. And that fellow will say, yes, whatever you are saying, I believe Hinduism is the root cause of all evil. Therefore, it has to be dismantled. One of us, brown skin, will stand there and say that. Because that is how disconnect we have been. At least up until our earlier generation, they practiced non-convenient Hinduism. We'll continue next week. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Bhyo